My name is Abby, and I'm the founder and executive director of Mental Health Collaborative. We are a new nonprofit organization based in Massachusetts, and our mission is building resilient communities through mental health education and awareness. One of the ways that we do this is through teaching mental health literacy in schools and throughout whole communities. In the wake of the coronavirus, we had to put all of our in-person programs on hold, but we really want to help. I am a therapist and I work at a Massachusetts university as well as with adults of all ages. I have noticed that in most people, it's not easy to talk about mental health. That is the focus of this short training. These are the goals of our training. What is mental health and why is it more important today than ever? What goes on in our minds? What is the relationship between our thoughts and our feelings? And finally, how can we practice compassion, both for ourselves and others, through open, supportive, and non judgmental conversations? So, what is mental health? It's the ability of individuals to successfully adapt to the opportunities and challenges that life gives us every day. Mental health does not mean the absence of negative emotions. We're all going to experience life's ups and downs, disappointments, and losses to varying degrees and at different times throughout our lives. But how we respond to life's ups and downs is critical to our mental health. Learning how to acknowledge and label our emotions, allowing ourselves to feel them and even talk about them are important skills that we all need, especially during stressful times. Open and authentic conversations with others is also an important part of mental health. There's a ton of research about how our relationships and ability to be open improves our mental health and can really help us when life isn't going as planned. And we all know by now that life does not always go as we planned. Again, mental health isn't the absence of negative emotions. As a matter of fact, if I heard that you just lost your opportunity to study abroad or celebrate your high school or college graduation and you didn't feel negative emotions, then I'd be worried about your mental health. We're surrounded by a ton of advice right now on how to emotionally cope with the COVID-19 crisis. Here are several of them on the slide. What are some of the ways that you cope with the sadness, the frustration, the disappointment, and loss during this time? Take a minute to think about which of these things or other things that have helped you. Then try to think about one or two more that you'd like to try. All of these are helpful practices to maintain in life for both your physical and mental health. I'm going to focus in on two of them that can be extra helpful when you're feeling off. Those are paying attention to your thoughts and reaching out and sharing with others. Did you know that experts estimate that the mind thinks between 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day? That's an average of 2,500 to 3,300 thoughts per hour. Can you imagine what it's like for your brain to process all of these thoughts? And when these thoughts that run through our brains are negative and self-critical, which they often are, they affect our moods and our whole outlook on life. So what's going on inside our own head? Here's a method called cognitive behavioral therapy that can help us understand some of what happens within our minds. The basic principle is that our thoughts, which we often aren't even aware of, affect our feelings and ultimately our behaviors. If we look closely at our thoughts and test their validity, then we can often change our moods and our behaviors for the better. How does it work? First, we can acknowledge and label what we are feeling. Is it worry, sadness, anger, something else, a combination of feelings? Next, we try to figure out what the specific or automatic thoughts are that are triggering the negative feelings. Our thoughts are like conversations running through our heads all day. But a lot of times, these conversations can be really negative and sound something like, I'm a complete idiot. I suck at making friends, and so on. So, of course, these thoughts are going to trigger negative emotions. The third step is to re examine the facts behind our thoughts. Usually, they're complete exaggerations. Sometimes they are caused by another person's negative influence on us. Finally, we can reframe our thoughts to be kinder and more in perspective. Once we reframe our thoughts, This will help our feelings to reset to be calmer and more forgiving. The good thing about this method is that it makes us practice self-compassion. Let's try it. Let's just say you were feeling like a pit in your stomach and feeling really down. Acknowledge the feelings and label them. Then write down your automatic thoughts. Just write them down just as they're running through your head. For example, I'll never get a job. I'm a failure. Nobody would want to hire me. Nothing good ever happens to me. Next comes one of the most important parts. Examine the facts behind your thoughts and challenge them. Usually they're distorted. Write down a challenge that is believable to you for each of the distorted thoughts. And it makes a difference to write them down versus just thinking about them. For example, I've had jobs in the past and I've been pretty successful. Or times are tough right now and it may take a while, but I'll eventually land on my feet. The competition may be tough, but I'm not a failure and I'm not going to let it get me down. And so on and so on. Lastly, notice if your feelings have become less negative by working on changing your thoughts to be more realistic. It may take some time and practice at first, but it really does work. We all have a responsibility to take care of ourselves and each other. The practice of self-compassion is an important step toward compassion for others. By being aware of our own thoughts and feelings, we are practicing self-compassion. We're learning to let go of overly self-critical conversations in our heads and replace them with more truthful and forgiving ones. We can also do this in our conversations with others and practice compassion for others. How do you usually communicate with others? Posting, texting, and liking images are fine, but not enough. We need actual conversations. Superficial and fun conversations are great too, but deeper and meaningful conversations are harder to initiate and take courage. I'm talking about the kind of conversation where you share something tough that you're going through. It's not easy to show weakness or to be vulnerable, but it strengthens relationships and allows others to open up. This is an important part of being human. How do we have these conversations? Well, the first step is identifying anyone who you feel comfortable opening up to. It could be someone you know very well, or someone you have a hunch would be a trustworthy and good listener, or it could be someone that you know could really use a friend. The second step is reaching out, most likely over the phone during these times, to check in on how things are going. The third step is openness about your recent experiences and feelings. The good, the bad, the funny, and the ugly. And the fourth step is to listen and relate, but mostly just to listen. We shouldn't feel like we need to fix our friends' problems. Just non-judgmental listening and relating can do wonders to help by itself. Here's a little secret. When things get rough, it's really helpful to believe that one good conversation can change the world. Kind of like the butterfly effect. One small change in one place through a chain of events can cause a big change in the future. Imagine if all of us were to believe this and try to have at least one open and supportive conversation per day. It's just one simple conversation, but it can make a world of difference to the person on the receiving end of that call. Try it and see how it changes your mood as well. Having negative emotions is expected and normal right now, but there may be a situation when you need to alert an adult either about yourself or about someone you know. Or, of course, you may be an adult listening to this and you may need to let someone know that you are suffering or need help. What are the signs that you or someone you know may need more help? Anytime that someone is talking about hurting themselves or not wanting to go on, they need more than a friend. Ups and downs in moods are very normal, but if any symptoms persist for a couple of weeks or more and/or interfere with usual functioning, that person may need help from a professional. It's important to respect people's confidentiality and not share private conversations. But if you're worried, it's better to share your genuine concerns with that person and with an adult. Remember, nobody is alone, and we are all in this together. We at Mental Health Collaborative appreciate you watching this video. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Most importantly, will you reach out to someone today?